The full moon hung heavy over the sacred grounds of the Silverpine Kingdom, casting silver light across hundreds of gathered wolves. Luna stood at the center of the ceremonial circle, her white dress clinging to her trembling frame as whispers rippled through the crowd like poison. 8 years, someone hissed, 8 years as his mate, and her womb remains empty. Luna's hands clenched at her sides. The moon goddess's blessing should have filled her with pups by now, should have secured her place in the Silverpine pack. Instead, she had become their greatest disappointment. Alpha Marcus stood beside her, his jaw tight, his eyes fixed on the ancient oak that marked the center of their territory. Once he had looked at her with warmth. Now, only duty remained in his gaze. Elder Thorn stepped forward, his ceremonial robes rustling in the night breeze. The scent of burning sage filled the air, mingling with the earthy smell of pine and the metallic tang of tension. "Luna, of the Silverpine pack," Thorn's voice carried across the gathered wolves. "You have been granted 8 cycles of the moon to fulfill your sacred duty as Alpha Marcus's mate. The goddess has not blessed your union with heirs." Luna's wolf whimpered inside her, scratching at her ribcage, desperate to defend them both. But pack law was absolute. Marcus finally turned to face her, and Luna saw something flicker in his amber eyes. Regret, perhaps, or merely exhaustion. "Luna," he said, his voice devoid of emotion, "I, Alpha Marcus of Silverpine, sever our mate bond before the moon goddess and this pack." The words struck like claws to her chest. Luna gasped, feeling the golden thread that had connected them for 8 years begin to fray and snap. Pain radiated through her body as the bond shattered, leaving her hollow. "No," she whispered, reaching for him. "Marcus, please. You were supposed to give me heirs," he said coldly, stepping back from her touch. "You were supposed to strengthen our bloodline. Instead, you've brought us nothing but shame." Laughter erupted from the crowd. Luna's former friends, wolves she had hunted with, celebrated with, cried with, now looked at her with contempt. "Baron Omega," someone called out. "Worthless mate," another voice joined. Elena, Marcus's younger sister, pushed through the crowd with a satisfied smirk. "Perhaps the goddess knew what she was doing, brother. Perhaps Luna was never meant to carry alpha blood." She circled Luna like a predator. Look at her, weak, small, unable to fulfill even the most basic purpose of an Omega. Luna's vision blurred with tears, but she refused to let them fall. Not here, not in front of them. "Leave the territory," Marcus commanded, his alpha authority pressing down on her like a physical weight. "You have until dawn. Take nothing that belongs to this pack." The ground seemed to tilt beneath Luna's feet. Banishment, complete and absolute rejection. As she turned to leave, the crowd parted, their faces a mixture of pity and satisfaction. Luna walked through the gauntlet of her former pack, each step feeling like a knife to her heart. She had almost reached the tree line when a sound froze every wolf in place, the deep, resonant howl of a royal alpha. The air itself seemed to shift, becoming heavy with power that made Luna's knees weak. Every wolf in the clearing dropped their heads instinctively, including Marcus. From the shadows of the forest emerged wolves unlike any Luna had ever seen. Their fur gleamed like polished silver under the moonlight, and they moved with a grace that spoke of ancient bloodlines and absolute authority. And at their center walked him, Alpha King Demon of the Northridge Kingdom. Luna had only heard stories of the royal alphas, wolves whose power was so immense they ruled over multiple territories, answering only to the moon goddess herself. Demon was legend-made flesh, standing well over 6 feet tall even in human form, with jet-black hair that fell to his shoulders and eyes that glowed an inhuman silver. The scent of him, pine, leather, and something primal that made Luna's wolf surge to attention, washed over the gathering. It was the scent of absolute dominance, of a predator who had never known defeat. "What?" Demon's voice was quiet, but it carried the weight of thunder. "Is happening here?" Elder Thorn bowed so low his forehead nearly touched the ground. "Your Majesty, we did not expect. This is a private pack matter. I asked a question." Demon's silver eyes swept across the gathered wolves before landing on Luna. His gaze pierced through her, seeing past her trembling exterior to something deeper. Marcus stepped forward, attempting to maintain his authority despite the obvious power imbalance. "Your Majesty, I have just severed my bond with this Omega. She has failed in her duties and—" Failed. Demon's attention shifted to Marcus, and the Silverpine Alpha visibly flinched. "Explain." "She's barren," Elena interjected, her voice dripping with disdain. 8 years without a single pup. She's useless to our pack." Demon was silent for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then he began to walk, his royal guards parting to let him pass. He moved toward Luna with purposeful strides that made her heart hammer against her ribs. When he stood before her, towering over her small frame, Luna forced herself to meet his eyes. What she saw there made her breath catch. Recognition, fury, and something that looked startlingly like possession. "Your name," he commanded softly. "Luna," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Luna," he repeated, as if tasting the word. Then he turned to face the assembled pack, and his voice became a weapon. "You mock her for being childless. You cast her out as worthless." His laugh was cold and sharp. "How amusing that you're all too ignorant to recognize what stands before you." Marcus frowned. "Your Majesty, I don't understand." "This Omega," Demon said, his hand reaching out to gently touch Luna's face, making her gasp at the electric current that passed between them, "carries the scent of pure bloodline, ancient and powerful." His silver eyes blazed as he looked at Marcus. "The failure, Alpha Marcus, was never hers. It was yours." Shocked silence descended over the clearing. "What are you saying?" Marcus demanded, his face flushing with anger and confusion. Demon's smile was predatory. "I'm saying that an Omega of her lineage would never conceive with a mate unworthy of her bloodline. The moon goddess herself prevented it." He stepped closer to Luna, his presence enveloping her like a shield. She was never barren. She was simply waiting for her true mate. Luna's world tilted as Demon's words sank in. The golden thread she had felt snap moments ago was being replaced by something else, something infinitely stronger, burning silver bright in her chest. "No!" Marcus breathed, realization dawning in his eyes. "That's impossible." "By the ancient laws of the royal packs," Demon announced, his voice carrying across the territory with supernatural clarity. "I, Alpha King Demon of Northridge, claim Luna as my true mate before the moon goddess and all assembled witnesses." Chapter 2. The King's Declaration. The proclamation hung in the air like lightning before a storm. Luna's legs nearly gave out, but Demon's arm wrapped around her waist, steadying her with a touch that sent flames racing through her veins. "You can't," Elena sputtered, her face pale. "She's just been rejected. The bond was severed." "A false bond," Demon corrected, his tone sharp enough to draw blood. "One that should never have been formed." His silver eyes found Marcus again. "Tell me, Alpha of Silverpine, did you force this mating? Did you use your authority to claim her before the goddess revealed her true mate?" Marcus's silence was answer enough. Luna's mind reeled back 8 years to that night. She had been only 18, newly presented as Omega, when Marcus had cornered her after a pack celebration. She had felt confused by his sudden interest, uncertain of the pull she felt toward him. He had marked her that very night, claiming it was destiny that his wolf had chosen her. But there had been no true mate bond, not the legendary, soul deep connection the elders spoke of. Just obligation, duty, and eventually disappointment. "I thought," Luna whispered, her voice breaking, "I thought something was wrong with me." Demon's hand cupped her chin, tilting her face up to meet his gaze. The gentleness in his touch contradicted the lethal power radiating from him. "Nothing is wrong with you, little Luna. Everything is exactly as the goddess intended." The silver thread between them pulsed, growing stronger with each passing second. Luna could feel it, the true mate bond that legends were made of, wrapping around her soul like roots finding home. "This is absurd," Marcus growled, his alpha pride wounded. "You expect us to believe that an ordinary Omega from Silverpine is worthy of a royal alpha?" Demon's laugh was dangerous. Ordinary. He pulled Luna closer and she felt his nose trace along her neck, inhaling deeply. The intimate gesture made her shiver. When he pulled back, his eyes glowed brighter. Your ignorance is astounding. This Omega carries the bloodline of the ancient Lunas, the first wolves blessed directly by the moon goddess herself. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Elder Thorn stumbled forward, his face ashen. The ancient Lunas, but that bloodline was lost centuries ago during the Great War. Hidden, Demon corrected, protected by the goddess herself until the time was right. He looked down at Luna with something like reverence. Your mother never told you, did she? Luna shook her head, memories flooding back. Her mother had died when she was young, and her father had never spoken of their lineage beyond vague references to old blood. The ancient Lunas were hunted nearly to extinction, Demon explained, addressing the crowd, but keeping Luna anchored against him. Those who survived went into hiding, their true nature suppressed through generations. But the bloodline remembers. The goddess remembers. His hand splayed across Luna's lower back, possessive and protective. And I remember. How? Luna found her voice, looking up at him with wonder and confusion warring in her chest. Because I've been searching for you for over a decade, Demon said softly, just for her ears. The moon goddess came to me in a vision when I turned 21, telling me my true mate carried ancient blood and would need time to awaken. She showed me your face, Luna. I've known you were mine since before you even presented as Omega. Tears finally spilled down Luna's cheeks, not from pain now, but from overwhelming emotion. Then why did you let me suffer with him? Pain flashed across Demon's features. I didn't know where you were. The vision showed me your face but not your location. I've sent scouts across every territory in the kingdom for years, searching. His thumb wiped away her tears with heartbreaking tenderness. I arrived at Silverpine's borders tonight following a report of an Omega with unusual silver undertones in her scent. I never imagined I'd find you like this. Marcus's fists clenched. I can't just take her. She was part of my pack. Was, Demon emphasized, his voice dropping to a lethal purr. You severed that bond yourself, Alpha Marcus. You rejected her before witnesses, banished her from your territory. She belongs to no pack now. He paused, letting the weight of his next words settle. Except mine. Luna felt the shift in the air as Demon's power expanded outward, wrapping around her like a second skin. The sensation was overwhelming, his strength, his authority, his absolute certainty flowing into her through their bond. By royal decree, Demon announced, his voice carrying the weight of ancient law, Luna of the ancient bloodline is now under my protection and claimed as mate to the Northridge crown. Any wolf who speaks against her, threatens her, or dares to harm her will answer to me personally. The threat was clear. Even Marcus, proud as he was, had the sense to bow his head. Eleanor, however, couldn't contain her bitterness. This is ridiculous. She's weak. Look at her. She couldn't even defend herself against pack gossip. And you expect us to believe she's some legendary... The words died in her throat as Demon's eyes flashed dangerously. Speak about my mate again, he said quietly, and I will show you exactly how weak I am not. Luna felt something stir inside her. Her wolf, which had been cowering and broken moments ago, now raised its head with newfound strength. The bond with Demon was feeding her power, awakening something that had lain dormant her entire life. When she spoke, her voice came out stronger than before. I'm done being ashamed. She looked at Marcus, at Elena, at all the wolves who had mocked her. You're right. I couldn't give you pups, Marcus, because deep down my wolf knew you were never meant to be mine, knew our children would have been born into a lie. Marcus flinched as if struck. But I'm not weak for that, Luna continued, drawing courage from Demon's steady presence at her back. I'm not broken. I was just... waiting. Demon's pride in her radiated through their bond, warming her from the inside out. We're leaving, Demon announced. Luna will return to Northridge Kingdom with me tonight. There, she will be formally recognized as my mate and future queen of the royal packs. Queen! The word should have terrified her. Instead, Luna felt only rightness settling into her bones. As Demon began to guide her toward his waiting guards, Marcus called out, "Wait!" They paused. Marcus approached slowly, his shoulders slumped in defeat. When he met Luna's eyes, she saw genuine regret there. "I'm sorry," he said quietly, "for everything. You deserved better than what I gave you." Luna nodded, accepting the apology, but feeling no need to absolve him. Some wounds needed acknowledgement, not forgiveness. Then Demon was moving again, leading her through the parting crowd of Silverpine wolves. His royal guards closed ranks around them, creating a protective barrier between Luna and her former pack. At the edge of the clearing, Luna paused to look back one final time. The sacred grounds where she had been humiliated now seemed small and insignificant. The wolves who had tormented her looked like strangers. Chapter 3. Awakening the Luna. The journey to Northridge Kingdom passed in a blur of sensation. Demon had insisted Luna ride with him, cradled against his chest as he shifted into his massive black wolf form. The royal guards surrounded them, their silver pelts gleaming like starlight as they ran through the forest. Luna had never felt anything like this, the wind whipping through her hair, the powerful muscles of Demon's wolf moving beneath her, the intoxicating scent of him filling her lungs with every breath. Through their bond, she could feel his wolf's joy at finally having her close, finally being able to protect her. When the Northridge Palace came into view, Luna's breath caught. It wasn't like the modest pack houses of Silverpine. This was a true stronghold, massive stone walls covered in climbing moonflowers, towers that reached toward the stars, and windows that glowed with warm golden light. Demon shifted back to human form as they approached the gates, catching Luna effortlessly as she slid from his back. Someone, one of his guards, had already provided him with clothes, and he dressed quickly before scooping Luna into his arms again. "I can walk," she protested weakly, though her body melted against his. "I know," Demon murmured against her hair, "but I've waited years to carry my mate across this threshold. Indulge me." The palace interior was breathtaking. Marble floors reflected the light of hundreds of candles. Tapestries depicting the moon's phases hung from vaulted ceilings. And everywhere, the scent of night-blooming jasmine and rain-soaked earth, the signature fragrance of royal wolves. Demon carried her through corridors lined with portraits of past kings and queens, until they reached an enormous set of double doors carved with images of wolves howling at the moon. "My chambers," he explained, pushing through the doors with his shoulder. "Our chambers now." The room beyond was magnificent, but surprisingly warm. A massive bed draped in midnight blue silk dominated the space, surrounded by floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked moonlit gardens. A fireplace crackled with welcoming heat. Demon set Luna down gently on the edge of the bed, then knelt before her, his silver eyes searching her face. "How are you feeling? The bond awakening can be overwhelming." Luna's hands trembled as she reached out to touch his face, marveling that she was allowed, that this powerful, devastating male was hers. "I feel like I'm dreaming," she whispered, "like I'll wake up back in Silverpine, still broken and alone." "Never alone again," Demon promised fiercely. He caught her hand, pressing a kiss to her palm. "And you were never broken, Luna, just dormant, like a seed waiting for the right season to bloom." "Tell me about the ancient Lunas," she said softly. "Tell me who I really am." Demon settled beside her on the bed, pulling her against his side. The ancient Lunas were the first Omegas created by the moon goddess, not submissive or weak as modern wolves believe, but powerful in different ways. They were healers, seers, the heart of every pack. Their ability to bear strong pups wasn't just biological, it was magical. They could only conceive with their true mates because their children were meant to be extraordinary. Luna absorbed this, pieces of her fractured self-image beginning to reform into something new. Why were they hunted? "Fear," Demon said simply. Her faction of alphas centuries ago became threatened by the power ancient Lunas held. They led a campaign to eliminate them, claiming Omegas should be subservient, not revered. His jaw clenched. Most of the bloodline was destroyed. The survivors hid their true nature, passed down through generations so diluted that many didn't even know what they carried. "But you knew I was one," Luna said. "How?" The vision showed me your silver aura, a mark only ancient Lunas possess, and when I scented you tonight—" Demon inhaled deeply, his eyes darkening with hunger and reverence. Unmistakable. Silver moonflower and starlight, the scent of pure lunar bloodline. Luna felt heat bloom in her cheeks as Demon's gaze intensified. The bond between them pulsed stronger, and she became acutely aware of how close he was, how his hand rested on her waist, how his thumb traced small circles against her hip. "What happens now?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Now," Demon said, his voice dropping to a low rumble that made her wolf whimper with need, "we complete our bond. But only if you want this, Luna. Only if you choose me freely. Without the pressure of pack politics or royal decree, I won't force you into anything." Luna's heart swelled. After 8 years of obligation and duty, being given a choice felt revolutionary. She thought of how gently Demon had touched her, how fiercely he had defended her, how he had spent years searching for her. "I choose you," she said firmly, cupping his face in both hands. "I choose us." The kiss that followed was nothing like the mechanical affection she had known with Marcus. This was fire and starlight, claiming and surrender, a collision of souls that had been separated for too long. Demon's lips moved against hers with barely restrained hunger, one hand tangling in her hair while the other pulled her closer. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Luna felt the bond solidify into something unbreakable, a golden-silver cord that tied her soul to his for eternity. "Mine," Demon growled against her throat, his canines grazing her skin where he would place his mark. "Yours," Luna agreed breathlessly. The claiming mark Demon left on her neck burned with pleasurable fire, sealing their bond before the moon goddess herself. Luna cried out, not from pain but from the overwhelming sensation of finally being complete, finally being exactly where she belonged. As they lay tangled together afterward, Demon's hand resting protectively over her stomach, he murmured, "You'll be an extraordinary queen, Luna." "I don't know how to be a queen," she confessed. "You'll learn, and I'll be beside you every step." He pressed a kiss to her shoulder. "But there's something else you should know." Luna propped herself up on one elbow, looking down at him. "What?" His eyes gleamed with barely contained excitement. "Ancient Lunas, when bonded with their true mates, awaken certain abilities, healing, prophetic dreams, and—" He paused dramatically. "Enhanced fertility. The goddess's blessing on the union." Luna's eyes widened. "You mean—" "I mean that everything Silverpine mocked you for will become your greatest strength," Demon said, pulling her back down against him. "You'll bear powerful heirs, yes, but more importantly, you'll help heal the rifts between packs, guide our kingdom with wisdom beyond years, and show the world what true lunar power looks like." Tears pricked Luna's eyes again, but this time they were tears of joy. "How did I get so lucky?" "The goddess has a sense of humor," Demon said with a soft laugh, "making me wait years for you, then having me find you at your lowest moment so I could see exactly how strong you are." He tilted her chin up. "Most wolves would have crumbled under that rejection. You stood tall. You found your voice. That's the Luna I knew you'd be." Chapter 4. The Queen's Coronation. 3 months had passed since the night Demon had claimed her, and Luna barely recognized herself. The frightened, broken Omega who had been cast out of Silverpine was gone, replaced by a female who walked the halls of Northridge Palace with quiet confidence and growing power. Her abilities had awakened gradually. First, the healing, discovered when she had eased a young pup's fever with just a touch. Then the prophetic dreams, showing her glimpses of threats to the kingdom and allowing Demon to protect their borders more effectively. And finally, the undeniable confirmation that she carried Demon's heir. Now, standing before the sacred altar in the Grand Hall, surrounded by alphas and lunas from every territory in the kingdom, Luna prepared for her formal coronation as queen. The ceremony was magnificent. Moonflower petals carpeted the floor, hundreds of candles cast dancing shadows on the ancient stone walls, and at the center of it all stood Demon, dressed in ceremonial robes that marked him as Alpha King, his silver eyes glowing with pride as he watched her approach. Elder Moira, the high priestess of the moon goddess, raised her hands for silence. "We gather under the full moon to witness a rebirth," she announced, her voice carrying supernatural weight. "The return of the ancient lunar bloodline, the blessing of a true mate bond between king and queen." Luna knelt before the altar, and Moira placed a circlet of silver and moonstones upon her head. "Do you, Luna of the ancient bloodline, accept the responsibility of queen, to guide, to heal, to lead our people with wisdom and compassion?" "I do," Luna said clearly, her voice steady. "And do you swear before the goddess to use your gifts not for personal gain, but for the good of all wolves under Northridge's protection?" "I swear it." Moira turned to Demon. "And do you, Alpha King Demon, accept this Luna as your equal partner in leadership, to honor her counsel, respect her power, and share your throne?" "I do," Demon said fiercely, "now and always." As Moira completed the blessing, Luna felt a surge of power rush through her, the full awakening of her ancient lunar heritage. Her eyes glowed silver, matching Demon's, and for a moment, everyone in the hall could see the aura of starlight that surrounded her. When she stood, Demon was there, offering his hand. Together, they turned to face their kingdom, united, powerful, unbreakable. The celebration afterward was joyous, but Luna found her attention drifting to a familiar scent near the entrance. Her eyes widened as she recognized Marcus, standing awkwardly among the crowd, with his head bowed respectfully. Demon noticed immediately tension coiling through his body. "Do you want him removed?" Luna considered, then shook her head. "No, I want to speak with him." They approached together, Demon's presence a silent reminder that Luna was under his protection. Marcus looked older somehow, worn down by the weight of his mistakes. "Your Majesties," Marcus said formally, dropping to one knee, "I came to offer my formal allegiance to Northridge Kingdom and to—" He swallowed hard, meeting Luna's eyes. "To apologize properly. To see you thriving like this. I understand now how badly I failed you." Luna felt no triumph at his words, only a distant sadness for the time wasted. "You did fail me, Marcus, but I'm grateful for it now. If you hadn't rejected me, I never would have found my true place." "You're merciful," Marcus said quietly. "More than I deserve." "I'm not being merciful," Luna corrected gently. "I'm simply at peace. Your rejection hurt, but it freed me." She placed a hand over her stomach, where Demon's child grew. The goddess's plan was greater than either of us understood. Marcus's eyes tracked the gesture, and something like grief flickered across his face. Grief for what he'd lost, for what he'd never truly had. "Congratulations, Your Majesty, on everything." As Marcus rejoined the crowd, Demon pulled Luna close. "That was remarkably gracious of you." "I'm not angry anymore," Luna admitted. "How can I be? I have everything I never knew I needed." The celebration continued late into the night, but eventually, Demon swept Luna away to their private balcony overlooking the moon-washed gardens. The silver circlet still adorned her head, marking her as queen. "Happy?" Demon murmured, wrapping his arms around her from behind. Luna leaned back against his chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart. Deliriously, terrifyingly, completely. "Good," he said, pressing a kiss to the mark on her neck. "Because this is just the beginning, my Luna. The kingdom needs healing. The old ways need to be restored, and our children will need to be taught their true heritage." "Children?" Luna teased, turning in his arms. "How many are you planning?" Demon's grin was wolfish. "As many as the goddess blesses us with." His hand splayed over her stomach reverently. "This little one is just the first. Our legacy, Luna. Proof that true mate bonds can overcome any obstacle." Luna thought back to the frightened, broken Omega who had stood in that clearing 3 months ago, convinced she was worthless. That female was gone, transformed not by magic but by love, acceptance, and the courage to embrace her true nature. "They mocked me for being childless," Luna said softly, echoing the whispers that had once tormented her. "Said I was weak and worthless." Demon's eyes blazed. "And now?" Luna smiled, touching the crown on her head, feeling the life growing inside her, sensing the vast network of power and responsibility that came with being queen. Now I'm exactly who I was always meant to be. The moon rose higher over Northridge Kingdom, bathing everything in silver light, and in that moment, standing in her true mate's arms, wearing her crown and carrying their heir, Luna finally understood what the moon goddess had known all along. Sometimes the greatest blessings come disguised as the deepest rejections. Sometimes we have to lose everything to discover what we were always meant to find. And sometimes the wolves who mock us for our perceived weaknesses are simply too blind to see the ancient power lying dormant within. Luna was no longer the broken Omega of Silverpine. She was Queen Luna of Northridge, carrier of the ancient bloodline, mate to the Alpha King, and mother to the next generation of royal wolves. And her story, their story, was only just beginning.